Hi guys, welcome to another episode of CLATapult's interview series. Today I'm joined by Shruti Ghosh, who was a one-year student here at CLATapult. Shruti, why don't you introduce yourself first?
Hi, I'm Shruti Ghosh. I'm set to join ASA this year. I got an All India rank of 114 and a West Bengal rank of 3. I'm really excited to be here.
Hey Shruti, that's great to hear. Why don't we start off by discussing about, say, your aspirations to start with law? Then we maybe go and discuss a little bit about, your preparation and finally whatever you're looking forward to in law school, right? So can you tell us what motivated you to give the CLAT exam and decide to pursue law as a career?
Yeah, so from a very young age, from around 4 to 5th grade, I remember being interested in literature so much, and that slowly expanded to humanities as a whole, specifically history and politics. And from that age, I'd been thinking what I wanted to do when I was in college, like what subject I wanted to take. And so I was pretty confused. And then around in 10th grade, when I decided to take humanities, I did quite a bit of research. I spent hours when I researching, and then I I just came across law as an option which I'd never really considered before, and that seemed just perfect because it's sort of a combination of all humanities subjects and it's very versatile as a field. And that's how I decided to take CLAT.
Yeah, that sounds great. And how long has your journey with the CLAT exam been? Right, I remember discussing about how you were a student CLAT in the last year, right? Is that where your law journey began for you? Um, when we have that, solid foundation, yeah, law is for me. When we have that realization.
Yeah, so initially I read a few books with lawyers and main characters. It was mostly fiction, and obviously that I knew that it wouldn't apply in real life, but that sort of gave me a push. I thought that was pretty interesting. And then I did in-depth reading around academic books in law, and then I attempted essay competitions internationally for law, and I realized that I really liked law, and it was actually a combination of every sort of the whole discipline I liked.
Yeah, no, makes sense. Speaking about the CLAT exam, right? Um, how was that experience for you, right? Um, there are five sections which you have to get through to get to within a new good college. What would say, let's start with your favorite section in the CLAT exam that you love to solve?
Right. So my favorite section was probably English because I just when I started mock, initially I got very nervous, but then the English section was comparatively easier, and then it sort of eased me into the mock, and that slowly became my favorite section and the one I'm the most comfortable doing, and also math because I don't have to think a lot when I do math. It just sort of comes to me naturally, so I was more comfortable doing math than English.
Yeah. How do you go about, the different sections, right? So, I remember even discussing with other students of mine how you should decide which section to go first, which to go second, mock, right? And you describe how English was the first section you should start with. What was the section that you should follow that up? And, how did you figure out that that is the perfect combination for you?
Right. So initially, in my first mock, uh, a fun story. My first mock was actually scheduled the day I got admitted, and so I was sort of sitting in the mock. I got admitted, and I was suddenly sitting in a mock. I did not have the time to mentally prepare myself, so I just for the first quite a few months, I went with um the order of the paper, like English, and then we have GK. I just went in that order, and so the problem with that was that time management. I couldn't complete the entire paper. So I started thinking about how I should order the sections in order to complete it, so that I could attempt the most number of questions. So finally, I decided on sort of English in the beginning because it eases me into the paper. And then I went to logic because logic is sort of very challenging for me. And I want to attempt it when I'm at my best. And then I went to legal because legal is pretty lengthy. And then I went to GK and then math at the end. because I'm the most comfortable with math. And like when I'm nearing the end of the exam, I'll be able to keep my cool better when I'm attempting a section I'm comfortable with. So like I start with a section I'm comfortable with and end with a section I'm comfortable with. That was my strategy.
Sounds great. Thank you so much for explaining in detail how found out what it was the schedule will be. Um, how exactly, considering that you've taken a gap year of sorts, right, while preparing for the CLAT exam, can you maybe tell us how you kept yourself motivated throughout? Because usually, for example, students who are giving it along with class 12, they have school and they have friends at school who are also giving CLAT exam, so to speak, right? So they have internal checks and balances to keep them accountable, to keep themselves motivated. Considering it was slightly more isolated for you, how did you keep yourself motivated through the CLAT track?
So here, CLATapult helped me a lot because like once I joined CLATapult, it was like a physical program, so I had to come to class on weekends, and I met people who were also preparing for CLAT, and a lot of them also were on their gap years. So it did not make me feel like I was all alone. I had friends, and then I also had fun in class, and I remember being so excited to come here on weekends. It was like sort of what kept me going. Also because CLAT is scheduled to be in December from now onwards, that also like sort of reduce the gap between like my boards ending and me appearing to CLAT. So that helped a lot because I did not have to wait for like May next year or maybe June to attempt CLAT again. It was right in December, which played out perfectly for me.
Yeah, no, that's great. Speaking of classes, right? Can you tell us who your favorite teacher you had chatted with was, or say what was your favorite learning, so to speak, you had chatted with? What would you take back from all the classes you had?
Right. So it's actually a bit difficult for me to choose a favorite teacher because in each and every section, I can remember teachers being very helpful to me, and like I had distinct learnings from them for every section. Like for English, the main idea. The teachers helped me identify what a main idea was, and after that, I never got a single main idea question wrong. And for GK, Shuru sir actually helped me advise me through how to analyze a GK, how to template the GK section by analyzing the past trends of the CLAT question paper. Like by that, I could also sort of estimate what sort of questions might come this year. I made a spreadsheet and then I wrote questions and validated them and stuff. And for maths, Rajesh sir helped me distinguish between like how to attempt board exam maths and how to attempt competitive exam maths, because obviously with competitive exams there's a time crunch in the maths section, especially because I'm attempting it right at the end. And for logic, strengthening and weakening was a very weak area for me, in which Megha ma'am and Akshat sir really helped me a lot. And yeah, and in the legal section, what happened was at one point of time, I had like whole 12 questions wrong. Like in every mock I took, I had like 12 questions wrong. And then so I talked about that to ask her mom. And then she told me what to look for in an answer in a legal question. And after that, my number of mistakes in the legal question like went right down to 3 or 4, never more than that, which was like very insane, and it really like pushed up my mark scores by a lot.
Yeah, it's great to know that you have great experiences with all the teachers here at CLAT World, and it's just great that you take the best use of all the resources available to you. Um, Speaking, say, about your preparation for the CLAT exam, right? Could you maybe guide us through how your day-to-day prep looked like? Like, what were the tick boxes you had to check off every day, so to speak? What was your strategy in, say, final few months of CLAT exam?
Right. So for me, the most important part of the day was to take a mock at exactly 2 to 4. Like manipulate my schedule in a way that my brain starts working the best around that time, so that like because obviously CLAT is scheduled at that time. I took a mock every day at 2 to 4. I printed out mocks in advance and then I kept it. And then I took a mock for 2 hours at a stretch and then no breaks. And after that, I check the mock, like I checked like what score I got, and then I analyzed the mock thoroughly, which is very, very important. And yeah, and apart from that, there's like practicing math, reading newspapers, and doing like sectionals. That's like very, that's I think like everybody does that, but specifically the mock part was very important for me. And again, it got me through that.
Right. And speaking of, say, mocks and resources, could you tell us what resources you find useful for our students who, prefer specific books for certain sections? Was that something that you did? What were the resources that helped you prepare for this exam?
Right. So my most important resource was again a mock. Like no section was really too weak for me. Like what mostly happened was I made silly mistakes and I also made them in CLAT, which is why like all the mistakes I made in CLAT were silly mistakes. So I felt like taking mocks helped me cut them down by a lot. But again, like yeah, that's like the most important part for me, like taking mocks, the most important resource. I feel like sectionals were very important to me in the beginning, but again, I did not use them as much towards the end. Mostly mocks, like full mocks.
Right. And would you say, like, just writing the work in itself was enough? Or did you also, devote time specifically to analyze the mocks? Was that an important part of your preparation as well?
Right, that it was very important because again I made very silly mistakes and wanted to learn how to cut them down. And I progressed that by analyzing mocks and it worked out very well. I initially like every section had quite a few mistakes, but then like later I had almost no mistakes in English and then again like no mistakes in math. And like mostly mistakes happened in like legal and logic and like that too was very rare towards the end.
Right. I remember talking about, uh, choosing a law school, right? So after the CLAT exam, that becomes a very important aspect of it. And considering that you're going to Nalsar, how was that as a realization, right? When you got to know that that is where you headed off to, how did you feel and how excited are you about it?
I'm very, very excited about NASA. It's like my dream law school and it's like the best outcome that I could get through that. It's like hands down the best outcome. I'm very excited.
That's great to hear. Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the examination day itself, right? How that was for you, because that's the ultimate delay for students, right? Like that's something you're scared about, something you're looking forward to as well. And once it's done, right? Your journey with CLAT, so to speak, ends. How was the examination day for you? How did you feel after coming out of the examination center?
Right. So I feel like the most important bit for me was confidence. Very obviously confidence and to build that up, I worked for like a week before that. I stopped taking walks a week after class because I felt that it would help reduce anxiety. If like suppose I messed up a walk right before that and then I go into the exam thinking that chances are high that I won't be scoring well enough in CLAT either because like obviously that will be a reflection of my mock score, which is very not true, like not true at all. So I stopped taking mocks because I'm not taking mocks. I already feel heightened anxiety that CLAT is like knocking at the door and I'm not studying. I'm just relaxing. What will happen? And then on the actual day, that in like the exam anxiety sort of dies down because of that, which is like a very weird strategy I employed, and it worked. I also felt like the need to dress up really well to the exam center because that would help me feel really nice. And yeah, that's about it. And I tried not to think about the exam's outcome. Like I started the paper, I did not devote any time to thinking of how the paper was or like I'm not able to do this question, what will happen, the time is running out. I was like, I have to answer this question and that's about it. I can think about everything else later. I'll deal with disappointment later if anything happens. I just have to answer the question. That was my mindset during the exam.
Gosh, that sounds very resilient, honestly, to me. I don't think I was that confident going into my exam. And like I say to all the students, mental resilience is very important for this exam, right? You might know everything there is to know about the different sections, but you might still not be able to perform to your best because you're not that confident or that assured in yourself. Can you maybe tell us about how, and you told us how you build up confidence through the week, right? But how exactly did you go about, feeling comfortable giving the exam again and again, right? In the months that you prepared and so on. How would you say you built up that mental resilience? Just sit for CLAT, make sure you're not thinking about anything else, and just give it all that you got.
Right. So it's quite funny how I did that because like went into the exam thinking that this exam is just a formality. My admission to NASA is basically confirmed, which is actually not what I believed, but I basically gaslight myself into sort of thinking that, if that makes sense, because like that gave me a lot of confidence because I knew that if something went wrong, I could always deal with disappointment later. Like I'm not going to answer, I'll cry about it after the exam, but not before the exam. Because like before the exam, I need to be in my best shape. That was my priority and like my utmost goal. Yeah, before giving the exam.
It's great to hear that you manifested this outcome for yourself. That's quite refreshing to hear. Um, Now that you're here, now that we're headed off to college, have you thought about, what you think might be the right career for you, right? So you discussed your preparation, how you felt about the exam. Let's speak about what is in store for you now, right? Have you maybe thought about what you want to do, what you want to explore in philosophy, perhaps?
Yeah, so I have been doing that these past few days. I've sort of been researching life at law school, and I feel like at law school, the first few things I'm going to do is like research the different committees there, the different societies, and like maybe try doing like moot courts and like doing mediation competitions. And I've been looking at LinkedIn with people doing different internships, so I'm like also looking at that, like um, litigation internships, for example, and then people also do internships at completely different places at law school. Like a lot of people do like literature oriented and more humanities oriented internships. So that's also very interesting to me. I'll go all out and explore in my first year, and that's what like I'm looking forward.
Yeah, no, that sounds like a very good strategy for use in law school at least for as much as you can, right? So all the best to you for that. I remember speaking off the record a little earlier about how you already had a little bit of experience with law itself, right? You want to share that with us and maybe tell us how that sort of resonated with you and makes you feel about law school as well.
Yeah, so I did a litigation advantage for 2 months in Guthrie, and that sort of like gave me an idea how words worked, and that was an experience. I don't know really how to describe it, but I went to boards. I saw how proceedings went. I saw trials and very different sort of trials in that. I saw civil ones. I saw criminal ones. I saw even family disputes and stuff. So yeah, there's that. I also did a few essay competitions and I won like high commendation and commendation at like the John Locke Institute as a competition. And that is all. That's where I read quite a few like sort of research papers ish on law. And like specifically, I wrote a paper on the US Supreme Court's nomination of judges and stuff. And the litigation internship was also sort of eye opening, but then I maybe want to really go through that again because I want to really confirm my interest after like interning there.
Yeah, no, that sounds great that you've been able to actually assess if loss for you for your writing the exam. I don't think a lot of students actually do that. I don't think I ever did. I started with the inclination that law might be for me and I went all out for it. It's good that you confirmed your beliefs. It's quite refreshing to hear that. Uh, Before we wrap it up for today's session, do you have any final tips or suggestions you'd like to give to the candidates, maybe future aspirants in law?
Yeah, so I think like maybe being confident on the day of the exam is very, very important because I have missed exams because I was not confident enough. And that really taught me that I did not want the same to happen for CLAT as well. So confidence was definitely a huge priority for me. And to build that confidence, I got like a full night's sleep up to a week leading up to the exam, as I said before. And then I ate good food to make myself feel better. It's not like right before the exam, I did not want to feel like the world is ending. My everything is burning down. I did not want to feel that. I just wanted to feel really happy so that it could also reflect in the exam paper. And I guess that's what happened. And that strategy worked out really well. So I really recommend doing that. And as for the bit where I said that I did not study for a week leading up to the exam, I think that is very sort of personal to whoever is appearing for the exam because that worked out for me because I did sort of fail at mocks even without practice, but then a lot of people have to be constantly in touch with questions to keep up their progress. And if that is what a person's preparation looks like, then I don't think not studying for 7 days straight right before the exam is a good idea. So again, this is very personal, and I really recommend people to think about it, strategize, and figure out how to be their best selves on the exam day.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think just finding your fit, what works for you is very important. And doing that through mocks, through your CLAT prep strategy becomes essential to giving a good exam, right? Thank you so much for so honestly and candidly sharing your experiences, sharing how you went about the exam. I'm sure it'll be very helpful to all our listeners today. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Sure thing. It was great speaking to you. Thank you so much for tuning in to another episode of the interview series. I'll see you next time.